XP guys, this is Rob from Guy Plays, and today on the snapshot, it's actually gonna be a little bit more like a daily grind if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. You know, full transparency, but we are gonna be taking a look at Chroma's new augment, Guided Effigy. Now this time around, I promise you I'm actually going to say the correct syndicates that this belongs to, so you can pick this up for 25,000 standing after you've reached rank 5 with either the Parent Sequence or Cephalon Suda. Alright, so we're gonna jump straight into the build on this one, mainly because as with Mag, there really wasn't all that much to talk about, but basically what happens is now after you cast Effigy, you can hold down the 4 button, which places this kind of like smoky ring on the ground that will cause the Effigy to fly at high speeds towards that area. Now it's like super, okay, we're not gonna lie here. It's fast when it's happening. However, if the Effigy is currently in an animation, like it's breathing fire, or it's roaring, or doing an elemental AoE or something, it's not actually going to take that flight action. I don't know why this is flying. This should be flying. But it won't take that flight action until it's actually done with that animation. So sometimes it might take a little bit of time to actually get to your spot. So don't count on it to happen ASAP. However, if any enemies that kind of like come in contact with it during that travel time will be dealt 2,000 points of damage per second as long as it stays within contact with that enemy, and then at the very end of where it like lands, where you put down your marker, it will reset its roar. So for those of you guys who don't know, Chroma's Effigy actually has a roar that affects enemies within 30 meters from it, and that is the stun. So basically, it's almost kind of like you've got a little bit of a CC turret, so this thing kind of like zooms around, you place it down, and then it'll let out this big roar that stuns all enemies within 30 meters. That is not affected by power range whatsoever. Chroma's Effigy is basically just kind of like its own thing, and it has its own set ranges, so you can't manipulate that with any other mods, and that's why you actually see me using narrow-minded on this build with nothing to offset it. That's because Chroma's Effigy is just does its thing, basically. So let's go ahead and let me show you how it actually works within the battlefield. Alright, so let's go ahead and toss down an Effigy right here, and then I'm going to place it right there, and he is going to zip around and zoom around, and as you can see right here, I've set up another way for him to go, and I'm kind of almost like controlling him and making him zip around. Sorry, that was funny. And that's, I know this is gonna sound weird, but that's kind of what I love about this mod the most, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I've probably had the most fun with this mod out of all of the other mods, that were released. I know that Excalibur's Chromatic Blade, was really cool and very effective. You actually, the cool thing that you just saw there right there is that he went ahead and roared, but when he went ahead and roared, I repositioned him and then he roared again. So he basically locked down that little area, which is really cool. One of the strategies that I also want to point out is putting your Effigy right near him. Ah, it just knocks him over. Okay, I'm sorry, but I know that maybe this isn't the most effective, you know, and I always kind of put it out like this, that Chroma players can be a little bit, how do I put this? Can be a little bit sensitive about builds, and they can be very min-maxy and very kind of like, how do I, they can be little assholes when it comes to builds. I was trying not to say it, but they can be assholes when it comes to builds. They can be assholes about trying to be the very best like no one ever was. However, this mod is just pure hilarity, and I was actually recording several runs before this just to kind of get the feel out of it and just to kind of see like how it played. And to be completely honest with you, I was having so much fun that I was like, I had to stop myself in order to actually record this video. So as you can see, I wouldn't say that this augment is necessarily the most powerful thing on the block. Of course, that 2,000 points of damage is affected by power strength, but as you also saw in the video, it is also mitigated by armor. So it's not necessarily going to be some top tier endgame thing. However, this does kind of remind you to have fun with Chroma, and like I was saying with you know, with Mag's augment, you know, it's difference in playstyles. This really mixes it up for Chroma and almost kind of turns him on his head and say, hey, listen, let's just have a fucking good time. You now have a mobile turret that you can use and set up to barrel through enemies. So what you'll actually see with the upcoming gameplay that I'm going to provide you with is that I almost basically use it as kind of like a decoy slash body block slash AoE like stun slash just collision thing. It's just a lot of fun, and if you guys don't feel like taking things too seriously one day, I really suggest using the build that I showed and you know, kind of playing around with his Effigy, because it's fucking hilarious, and it costs no energy to reposition. So you get this moving kind of damage-based turret thing and this CC for no energy cost whatsoever. So that, for anyone who was interested in the facts and figures, for the very few facts and figures that I actually shared with you, that pretty much does it. And, yeah, so anybody who wants to stick around, have a little bit of a discussion about the way that I use the build, the gameplay is coming up now. Alright, so admittedly, this isn't necessarily the best, how do I put this? This isn't really the best mission to kind of, like, have this on, but, this was what was available in the Fissures, and you kind of have to deal with what you have to deal with. It always feels good. Oh, too late, too late. And I think that's one of the big things that you'll notice, probably in the gameplay, is you'll notice that it does take, even though the Effigy does dash very quickly, and it can descend on your enemies. It can descend on your enemies like a fucking monster. Just like that, sending this little fucker flying. Admittedly, it can take him some time to get there, and you don't always get the most reliable pathing, or the pathing that you would like at least. Sometimes he kind of like surprises you by taking the long way around, and you're like, wait, no, I placed you here very specifically because I wanted you to dash through this group of enemies. The other thing that I did want to point out too is I've noticed with Effigy, well, not noticed with Effigy, but it is one of the higher costing channeling ultimates. If I'm gonna be real with you, like, you know, we have others that you can literally knock down to 1 energy per second, or even into the fractions of energy per second. This, the lowest I could get it was around 2 energy per second, and I'm like, ooh, that kind of hurts. That kind of hurts a little bit. Like, I would absolutely love it, you know, if it didn't cost as much. However, I guess for what it's providing you, you know, you get the credit boosts, which by the way is not necessarily something that I had mentioned in the first part of the review. Let's see, can I get it? That's the other thing that I want to mention too. I'm getting a lot of target obstructed, so make sure you're placing your little buddy in a decent place because I've noticed that if I have him up there, his pathing isn't all that fantastic. So as you saw, I basically have him over here, and I'm gonna bring him over here so he can actually dash through all of these enemies. Come on, you can do it. And that's the one thing that I've noticed too, is sometimes he doesn't dash through enemies, he just kind of teleports into places, and I'm like, no! I placed you so carefully! I wanted you to strike all of your enemies, I wanted you to come down like demon fire from the heavens, but instead you just teleport. And, I mean, more often than not, he'll give you a little bit of an explosion, so it doesn't feel as bad, but legitimately, I'm kind of a little, that's one of the disappointing parts, is because you feel like, oh my god, I've got such a good pathing on this for once, and then it's either like target obstructed, or it just teleports into that area, and I'm like, no, it would have been so beautiful. Why must you ruin my fun, D? Why must you ruin my fun? And that's really, and I do have to mention that that's really what this mod is about though, like, it's just about having a lot of fun and kind of changing up the way that you play Chroma. So the kind of way that I've actually got him with this build basically, and I have to remind myself to put him down here and not up here, as much as I like to stand up there. Let's put him this way. Let's see if he dashes through. Yes! Dashes through. Take him out. And then we can go ahead and kind of move him around. So what I actually usually do with him is I will usually put him into places as I'm aiming. So what I'll do is I'll aim, and then I'll place him. See, he did his teleport, which is, I mean, I guess you just can't win with pathing all the time. So it is a little bit harder, but the way that I do it is I definitely basically toss him down in an area. Then I look for a good place for him to be. and then I hope that he zips through. And sometimes he takes really good pathings, and you're like, ooh, he got him real good. Come on, get him. Bam! Right there. Oh, it's always so nice. And it's always really, really entertaining. Now, one of the things that you'll see me do too is as I'm walking around, so as I'm kind of like, you know, as I'm kind of walking around, I'll actually go ahead and pull this in, and that's because I have Zeneric on, and Zeneric, as you guys know, does not activate during most channeled abilities. So for to keep, that's where my brain was going, to keep the energy up, I like to toggle them off whenever, you know, there aren't any enemies around and in between rounds. That way I can refresh Chroma's buffs and all of that. So that's kind of like the way that I like to play him, and to be honest, I've been having a lot of fun. Not as much fun on defense, because I find defense to be a little bit static, but on things like survival, where you're running around and kind of, you know, taking on enemies in a lot of different areas. I found him a lot of fun in there, and see, I'll just put him right there. Go get him! Go get him! Yes! It's always such a good, fun feeling to kind of see him do his work, you know? See him kind of moving around. Let's see if I can get him erased. Come on, right through that guy. Yeah! It's so stupid. But you know what? Let's be real, and this is kind of like the honest to goodness truth of it, is that as a veteran, you've done everything. Like, you've done pretty much, if you haven't done everything, you've done at least 90% of what's currently available in the game. So it's little things like this that make gameplay interesting, you know? Little things like this that change up the way that you act and the way that you play and the way that you treat certain characters, that really make certain things enjoyable. And the fact is when you get to have things like these, it kind of reinvigorates your want to play the game. You know what I mean? And I find that there's a lot of people that like just look at these mods, a lot of these augments that are like, psh, that's not my playstyle, I'm never gonna try that. But sometimes, you know, if you want to kind of like give yourself a little change of pace, you should try to change up the playstyle just you should try to change up the playstyle just a little bit to kind of, you know, try out something different, try out something new, especially if it's a frame that you really, really like. Ah, I saw that. I saw it, just like the wing clip, just right in the face. Is just to kind of like play around with things like these that kind of keep you entertained. It might not be the most optimal, and I know that there's a lot of people that are going to run around and be like, well, it's not the most optimal, so why would I play that? Well, why play anything in Warframe, you know? Why can't you just allow yourself to have a good time and enjoy yourself and just try out something different and new and force yourself out of the comfort zone, or give yourself something a little bit, a twist on something that you're already doing. There's so many people who only believe in max only builds, and I'm like, y'all are not fun. And this is definitely the augment that maybe not for defense, and I'm, you know, to be completely honest with you, I wish that there were other fissures up, and I wish that there were other Kuva siphons up, because that's usually where I like to primarily play things, is kind of like in Kuva siphons and fissures, because, you know, the difficulty level is a little bit higher, and as you guys know, this is a T4, so I like to kind of bring them in more difficult areas, because it shows performance a little bit better. I don't know, you guys let me know how you feel about that, but either way, I'm having a spanking good time with the new Chroma augment. I'm enjoying it a whole lot. I think that it's something that I always feel like I come down hard on Chroma mains and say, you guys are assholes. But legitimately, if you're feeling a little uptight, if you're feeling a little stressed, I suggest you take this Chroma build into a survival and play around with it. Give yourself a little bit of time to get the rhythm of the Zeneric. So once you've got Zeneric activated, go ahead and activate that and kind of get into that rhythm of, you know, wear your pelt. I was going to say consume your pelt. but you don't want to consume it. Wear your pelt, let yourself charge up, put your pelt down, and then just have it start going around. I always do it, like I said, I always do it as I'm aiming and shooting. So what happens is, you know, I'm aiming and shooting, and I'm holding down 4 occasionally to kind of like move them around where I see fit, and that's a whole lot of fun. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Play around with that this weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Let me know how you guys feel about it. But more importantly, if you already have the augment, I want you to let me know how you feel about it from a fun perspective. Did you enjoy it? Did you have a laugh? Because there are some hilarious moments that can be had with this. I love knocking enemies off because he always does that big explosion and everything goes flying, and sometimes things fall off terrain. And it just makes my heart feel good. Regardless, that about does it for me. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.